So welcome to my guests today, the Command Sisters. Hello, my beauties.
Hello.
So some of you may be seeing this on video, some of you may be just listening to it. Either way, I'm looking at these two beautiful women, two musicians, sisters. They are like opposites, but the same, and I love their whole image, their sound, everything. So I'm very excited to be speaking with you both today. Sarah and Charlotte, say hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us. We're honestly so stoked to talk to you again.
It's so crazy to talk over Zoom instead of in person because we used to always run into each other at all these events and
like on the street.
Like
in life, when life was still happening.
And I remember the conversation was always about blonde hair, short hair, and he was like,
yep.
We'd always
and
like both are twins and you look so fabulous.
I had to step it up. I'm like, you know what? Like, I've been doing some of these Zoom calls and these meetings, like looking like a schlep. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to steam a shirt. I'm going to put some bronzer on. I'm going to put some highlighter on. I just got my roots done, which anybody who is living through the COVID-19 crisis, I mean, obviously it's a real crisis. I'm not taking that lightly, but I'm not going to lie. Like, one big first world problem was getting my hair done, and it was a struggle, which, as I'm sure Sarah can relate as a fellow blonde.
I'm like, how did you guys do it? Like, she was struggling with the bleach, trying different.
I never did the bleach. I'm too scared. Did you bleach your own hair?
I tried.
Yeah. It looks awful right now because this is like a couple weeks in, and I didn't tone it. But when I do it myself, it's like not too bad.
You did amazing. How were you not scared? Were you scared?
I've almost fried my hair before and almost had to go like shave it bald, like blonde.
So you were okay with having it if you knew that it got to that point?
I could make it work. Like, so that was kind of my like.
You made peace with that.
Or I could grow it out, and so I'm still going with.
It looks great. Like, I thought about bleaching it myself, but all I could think of, there's a video on YouTube of a woman who was like, don't bleach your own hair. I'm going to do it to myself, see what happens. And she literally is just like pulling her hair off in chunks. And then she shaves her head and looks beautiful. Like, the ending is wonderful, but it's like the lesson is exactly like you said. Like, if I have to shave my head and start over, I've made peace with it.
It's a risk.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how you do it. So you either go in one direction or another. You're like, I'm willing to take the risk and I'll shave my head. Meanwhile, I've been growing my hair. Like, I just want to get to like a bit of a bob so I can just have something to play with. Cause I've had as short as you and I've had like long hair extensions. And now I'm like, let's go back to the middle and see what that's like. So that's how I stop myself. I'm like, I'm not going to wreck all these months of work. And I literally just like would slick my hair back, never blow dried it, took my vitamins, ate my vegetables, and my hair grew. It was like down to here almost. And then he had to cut a bunch off because once you tone and bleach it again, half of the hard work is gone.
That's what I'm trying to do right now too. If you can see, it's like kind of starting to grow.
Yeah, like a teeny tiny ponytail.
Yes.
So to Sarah's point, we can literally talk about blonde hair forever and ever. We should start the blonde hair don't care podcast if that doesn't exist already.
I would listen to that.
Honestly. So we'll talk about hair for another couple minutes because this is something I've always wanted to ask you guys, and I'm sure the people want to know. Sarah, do you and Charlotte have the same natural hair color?
It's
pretty much
very, very similar. Mine was a sort of darkish brown, and hers was just a little bit lighter, like a medium sort of. And in the summer, it would get like lighter brown.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So
light brown.
Right. So not something that you wanted to. I could see why you went with the blonde because I'm in that same boat. It's like, it's all right, but I can have more fun with this.
Yeah.
So you went in the opposite directions and you went with kind of your own already natural looks. So let's jump right into that because there's lots of stuff I want to talk to you guys about. But one of my favorite things about you and what you've created with the Command Sisters is your image. And I think it's because it's especially in the genre that you occupy, which I'll call like rock for argument's sake at this point. It's not a genre where, especially men, I hate to say, image is not, and looks and a cohesive brand is clearly not a priority. But for you, it's something that you've clearly cultivated, you have committed to, which when you talk about branding is one of the most important things, is to create your cohesive brand and commit to it. and you're thriving in it, and it's in everything that you do. I can literally hear it in your music, but like you look at your social media, you look at your fashion, I run into you on the street, you're in, you know, your, I hate to say persona because I do think that it is you, but you know, I feel like I'm not going to catch you like going to the 7-Eleven for a Snickers bar, like not like, at least you're gonna slap on the lipstick and you're gonna be in like black, red, or white. Like I feel like no matter what, you've shaped it in a way that it is a really, really important part of your image. So tell me what that was like to even just come up with that idea. Like what made you decide to commit to this so fully? And then tell me about what that process has been like.
Well, it was a really interesting, it's like, this is a Sarah question.
Sarah, yeah.
It was really, a part of it was business and frustration, and the other part of it was definitely like coming into like myself and learning like how to be more confident in myself. So I go back to a time when I just dropped out of high school, and my sister was writing all these really great songs. We grew up in a small town that was very country music focused, and my sister started writing more pop music, and we had opportunity and people were interested in us. And I mean, we were singing for record labels since we were like kids and went through 100 different rejection processes. And the whole thing that they kept saying was, you know, the music's good, but like the image just doesn't fit.
Makes sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were at this time where I was so frustrated because I heard my sister writing all these songs that I thought really deserved the attention, but it's like in the industry, a lot of the time people, you know, hear things with their eyes, specifically if you're a woman. It's like the pressure is even way more. And this guy had said, you know, you guys just look and sound like every other girls with guitars. And I was just like, I just so disagreed with that. I think it like fueled my fire and I got so angry. And I remember going to our little library in Spruce Grove, Alberta, and picking up a book on branding. And I was inspired by companies like Tiffany & Co., where you just see this little blue bag and instantly you know everything they're about in their essence. And you could see a blue bag on the street and it doesn't even necessarily have to say Tiffany on it, but you know what it is.
Right.
And I wanted to do that with music, and it sounds strategic, but it was really almost like an extension of creativity. I mean, there's so much fashion and design and so many different assets that really fueled my fire. So while my sister was writing songs, I was crafting this image. And we just talked about it the other day. It was bizarre. When we moved to Toronto, we started showing up at these events and dressing like totally out of our comfort zone, like red and sunglasses. And then all of a sudden people started to think we were famous, and we started getting invited to these other events and nobody knew who we were. And then all of a sudden we're walking the carpet at the Juno Awards and like nobody knows who we are. And we didn't even have
people knew. Because you stood out. Like you literally made yourself into the blue Tiffany bag.
Thank you.
Which is incredible.
Then people started wanting to hear our music. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if you, like David Byrne said, if you wear the suit, he wore the suit, right? Consistently. People would remember him for that thing. And I started to see that in our career. And I mean, it took us 3 years of being in Toronto before we got our major record deal, but those 3 years were us being recognized and becoming known in the community simply from what we were wearing. And I mean, we had a lot of fun with it because it was funny how people at the Junos thought we were nominees and we were like, what? Like nobody is like.
So what year was that so tell me about basically how this whole process started. So you're from Alberta. Country music is the big thing there. You were in the country music world. So you were those girls playing guitar, you know, to a degree, because that was not necessarily even what you were about, but that was the world that you were in, right? Like that was how, because I feel like in your music, obviously there's elements of rock, elements of country, elements of pop, like there's a lot, but a lot of it was kind of, you know, your surroundings that pushed into that. So aside, like from that tipping point moment, like how did you shift the sound as well as the fashion? And what specific like fashion influences have you pulled from? Because I can see a few things here that I'm like, let me know if I'm right. And did that happen together, like the evolution of the music as well as the look?
Yeah, I feel like subconsciously it was shifting at the same time. I feel like we always felt like we weren't quite country enough for country, even though that was what we were surrounded by. And we weren't quite pop enough for pop, if that made sense.
Yeah.
And even though
because you played instruments and wrote your own music and that type of thing.
Even though, and at that point, you know, back in the day, country and pop hadn't, like, you know how like Old Town Road, like we weren't seeing those cross genres as much back then, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't as like free, you know, to do what you wanted. And so I feel like, but I on the side, like even though we didn't perform these songs, I was always starting to play with more pop and more rock.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was always kind of there, but I never really embraced it, I guess. And then when Sarah and I finally took a seat back and we like really thought about it, I feel like it was like a subconscious thing. It just like her side of it with the fashion and then my side of the songwriting just happened.
Albums though, like we recorded I think 3 albums we never released.
Yeah.
Wow.
That we just
that's a lot of work to just like, and it just never felt right.
It didn't feel right. We worked like jobs, trying to pay for things, trying to write for grants, trying to get them, just didn't feel right. Ended up giving money back. Really cultivated it. And then this last record, we had the honor of working with this producer named Tim Pagnotta, who's done like Neon Trees and Walk the Moon, Blink-182 and Weezer and like all these bands that like we looked up to. So I think with him, that's really how we found the sound that we had today, was having that vision.
He captivated it perfectly, where it's like you're still able to have guitars and rock and country influences, and you know, you could play it live or acoustically, but yet it still has that bit of pop sort of feel in there. Which
that's
was
fantastic.
That middle lane that we had wanted for so long.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, that's the key too, is that finding those collaborations and finding those inspirations, you know, it's about like everything is just a bit uncomfortable until that thing clicks. So you found the musical click. So tell me about the fashion. So the black and the red, like obviously you guys have this like yin yang branding like persona situation, but why in that particular direction? Like I love it and I want to know where it came from.
So for me, it was about, I was really inspired by like the psychology of color. And around that same time, people were starting to do like Instagram themes, and we did like the black and white thing for a while, but I was like, that's
everyone did white.
Everyone does it, right? So I was trying to find something, and honestly, never really wore red growing up, so that wasn't really my first idea. And it was actually at the Junos this one time we got asked last minute to walk the carpet. I guess a spot open, and the PR person that knew us wanted to give us the opportunity. And so we ran to Zara that day and grabbed, like that morning, we grabbed anything we could find. And the only thing that really spoke to me was this red suit. And so it was like, oh, we should just wear all red and go on the carpet. And I went to Aldo and I bought these like really obnoxious big sunglasses that I wore indoors, which was so pathetic because like I wasn't famous at all. And like I was wearing sunglasses indoors. And
you committed though.
Wearing the suit and the sunglasses, I've never experienced that amount of recognition. And like these people we went backstage, and these people, obviously they don't know what Tegan and Sarah look like at all, but we both had black hair at the time. Thought we were Tegan and Sarah, and we told them we weren't, but they wouldn't believe us.
Over, we were and like, so we're not.
They wanted our autograph, and then all of a sudden more people started lining up for autographs. And this is backstage, so these people are like family members of the nominees. Like they're not fans, right? They're coming, they're like, we love your music, you guys are so good, and we don't have music out. And we're like, what the heck is going on? And so honestly, and then we posted the Juno photos, we did a photo shoot with red, and then I was just like, well, it's easy to match with red, black, and white, so like, let's just
I guess we're doing it.
And then
that's incredible.
Really mess. It was non-intentional, and the blonde hair thing was, once I started to dive deep more into the psychology of color and like the meanings of things. I mean, Shoal and I are so opposite. We're very much yin and yang. So I was, holy shit, that makes sense. Like we should do that.
We were both dyeing our hair black for years. And she had the same like long black hair as me, and then she cut it all off, and then all of a sudden I'm gonna bleach it. So
I remember looking back at the photos in the transition, because I had been going through a similar transition. I couldn't go like as immediate as you. I had to do it over years, but I remember being like, yes, this is the look. It's fire. And you kept it.
Committed.
Honestly, the commitment to the brand is so key, and I think that that's really incredible too. And like that's a trial by fire. Like you were at the Junos and literally you were like, I guess this works and I'm gonna do it. And here you are, and now you're signed to Universal Music.
Crazy.
Like literally the biggest record label in this country. And looking through your press release, like Republic Records in the US, like that's like The Weeknd is your label mate. Like the commitment that you've made has literally brought you to where you need to be. So now that you've got the brand in the visual, you've got the brand in the music, you've got the record deal, let's talk about the single that you've just released that is now you. Like this single is basically telling the world, now that it's, you know, you've got this large scale distribution, who the Command Sisters are. So let's talk about it. I mean, I like it, but also that's what it's called. I do like it though.
I like it.
Oh, thank you.
I like it a lot.
I mean, Charlotte, you can talk about.
Well, yeah, this one, I'm really, really excited and proud of this one, and just glad that, you know, we really got to put it out early on in this venture. It was a song that I was writing about all these crazy feelings that I was experiencing. And then Sarah, obviously, I read a lot about Sarah's dating life. Yeah, just about this like crazy relationship and just how it's like this person may not be good for you, but you don't care and you just want to fall into the madness anyway.
Yeah, because you like it.
Yeah, and sort of the juxtaposition of the good in the relationship and the bad. And I was at the time just listening to like sort of like older rock music, and I was playing these guitar chords and I was like, and Sarah came and she was like, that's so cool, you got to finish that. So
I think what's cool, like I can say this because I don't write the songs at all. I just
you play them though.
I just play the guitar parts. But my sister wrote this one all on her own, and I think that's like a misconception a lot when people get signed to major labels. You know, they think, oh, they're going to be songwriting for years, or they have to do a bunch of co-writes and blah blah blah. And I'm really proud of my sister that she wrote 99% of the record completely on her.
That's incredible.
Which is
the whole record, not just the single.
The last two singles we released, she wrote completely on her own. But
wow,
I think there's 2 co-writes out of 7 songs.
6 songs?
7.
Okay, see, that's where you're showing your country roots, because that's unheard of in the pop world. You go take a look at some of these writing credits, and no, you know, collaborations are amazing. Like that's no judgment, but this is also another way that you stand out. You know, it's part of your brand. And I love that. That's incredible. And obviously like a showcase to your talent as well. That's so cool.
Thank you so much. I was really, really just honored that the label liked my songs and they were like, yeah, let's do this, right? Because you never know, like Sarah said, you never know, like maybe they want to do something different, or they think, yeah, let's get you in a bunch of co-writes. And like, yeah, I love collaborating. The 2 co-writes that we have on this EP, like I love them. So people we worked with were amazing, and I love collaborating. But it's exciting to know that you can write something on your own, and like, hey, I love this too. So
it's validating.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's incredible, honestly. So the single's out now. There's an album out that you did such amazing work on, and I can't wait to hear it. I've only heard the single so far, but we're living in super flippin' weird times where what's normally next for musicians is like a tour and going outside and playing shows and going to award shows and events and meeting fans, and none of that is allowed anymore for our own safety, of course. So with that in mind, what does the next steps look like? You've just signed this amazing record deal and you're now in a brave new world, and you're good at spearheading new stuff. So I'm excited to see how you plan on tackling this challenge.
Thanks. Yeah, I think initially, like, it could have been easy to be discouraged or upset. I mean, specifically as a new artist, you really rely on touring and opening slots to really kickstart your career. It's a really big part of it. But what we try to do is just take this moment and try to make the most out of it. And luckily, we're living in an age where social media and video editing and like there's so much you could do on your own. And I think at first I definitely, like most artists, I doubted myself because like there's so much to learn and it could be overwhelming at times. But we've just been trying to take it every day at a time, trying to learn, you know, how to do live stream audio better because our live stream audio sucks. And we're like, okay.
Audio's hard. I get it.
our last music video, our first Vivo music video, was all shot on our iPhone, and I directed Charlotte around, and now it has like almost 150,000 YouTube views, which is insane.
And I mean, you guys have already done so much work with building your social media following. You have amazing engagement. So you're already, to your point, like social media is how people are connecting now. So you're already ahead of the game that way. Like you've got your audience and they're excited about you, and you know, they're there waiting for you and waiting for your music where you can reach them now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing about the music industry is it's so resilient, and it has had to adapt and reshape itself, you know, in the past so many times when it was, think about vinyl, and now there's CDs, and now there's the internet. What, you know, I can't imagine what that was like for everyone back then. And so, you know, it is frustrating. I feel really bad, like, for artists who had already scheduled tours and they had to be canceled, but everybody's gonna adapt, and obviously social media is the biggest help right now for everyone to keep sharing their music. And of course, nobody's gonna stop listening to music. Everybody needs music right now. So
that's a really important
we're just
point.
gonna keep doing what we're doing, and we'll see how
Over
things
the best.
go. Yeah.
And you know what, like you make a really good point. Like we're all going through something in some form or another, but people need music, you know, like art. And I've been saying this a lot lately, like art is what helps people get through. So on the one hand, you know, I find myself feeling really hopeless because I don't know if people value art in the way that it does. But then, you know, I see all the things happening in the world and how art and music and all these things are coming together to inspire people, to, you know, bring people together, to give them hope. So I guess if we're going to wrap up on a hopeful note, you guys have worked so hard, and you've accomplished such amazing things in music. And even though you're finding yourselves faced with a challenge, I know you're going to overcome it. So, you know, I'm hoping people out there who are watching this, there's going to be some artists in the audience who are maybe feeling a little bit less than hopeful these days. So from people who know what it's like to stick it out and hustle hard and see the fruits of their labor come to fruition, what advice do you have to people that are struggling a bit right now, whether it's with music or really with anything?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, just recognize that you're not alone. Like, we're all going through that. And I caught myself doing this, you know, I'm thinking, what are we going to do? We were supposed to be in April, we are supposed to be in New York, and then performing or, you know, supporting our single. But it's not just you. Think about, like, my dad was saying, somebody who got drafted for the NHL, and now that is all. And it can be even in just, you know, any kind of job or any kind of opportunity. We're all affected by this. And, you know, you know, I feel like you can feel like your purpose is almost like not defeated, but it's, you know, it feels like your purpose is gone when you can't perform, because that is. So just recognize that things eventually will return and things will come back. You just have to be patient and just keep doing what you're doing. Take the time, you know, we have more time now that we're, you know, inside and not performing. So take the time to write more or to practice more, you know, try to take advantage of the situation in the best way that you can. And I think that will be helpful for sure.
That's really, really wonderful advice. And I'm honestly going to take some of it myself, because I definitely find myself wallowing a bit. And I like what you said about feeling like you've lost your purpose, because I think that that's hitting a lot of people regardless of what their job is or their life is. So thank you for reminding us that there's more to it than that. And, you know, we don't lose who we are just because we have to stay inside. And there's ways that we can hold on to hope. Thank you for giving us hope. Thank you for giving us music. Thank you for giving us your beautiful selves with your awesome image that I love so much. I'm really, really glad that we got the chance to talk. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, it was so nice to catch up.
Even if it's like from a distance.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a selfie because we need to. Sarah and I would always take selfies on the street when we would run into each other.
Oh, yes.
So I don't know how people can see. Oh, I love that you guys are so cute. I can't be as cute.
No. Lies. Yes, you are.
Not from that angle, but you guys are beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time. And we will chat again soon, because I know the world is just starting to hear from you guys. And I can't wait to see what you come up with next. Command Sisters, you're beautiful. Mwah.
Thank you.